Hi everyone, welcome back to Betrayed. Thank you for joining us today. We have a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. I'm Ethan Taylor, a man who once believed that love and happiness were natural parts of life. But everything changed just 1 week before my wedding. The living room door opened in front of me, and I froze. Suddenly, everything seemed to stop. A strange silence filled the room. There stood Hannah, my fiancée, right in front of me. She looked stunning, dressed in a black cocktail dress, wearing a string of pearls, sheer black stockings, and high heels. Honestly, she looked beautiful, but something felt off. Her eyes weren't filled with love like they used to be. Instead, they looked distant, almost like she was trying to avoid something. I couldn't explain it at that moment, but a strange feeling began to weigh on my heart. "Hannah, what's wrong?" I asked as I stepped inside. I smiled and moved forward to hug her like usual. She quickly turned her face away, her voice shaky. I didn't expect you home so early. "What's going on?" I asked, stepping closer and softly kissing her cheek. "I just came home early to get things ready for our honeymoon." You surprised me," she replied, looking down at the floor. Her voice was uneasy. "So, where are you going, looking so beautiful?" I smiled, though doubt had already started creeping into my mind. I'm just going somewhere," she said, shaking her head, clearly not wanting to explain. "Don't worry, I just need a little time to relax." "Where to?" I asked, trying to stay calm while anxiety grew inside me. She hesitated. The answer didn't come right away. A hotel downtown. I'll be there alone." The silence between us hung heavily. "So, you're going alone?" I asked again, not wanting to believe what I was hearing. "Yeah, I'm going with a friend." She finally sighed, giving me an answer. That moment, the uneasiness inside me grew stronger. "Who is this friend? What's their name?" I asked, but she just stood still, eyes fixed on the window, avoiding my gaze. "I'll be with a friend," she repeated, almost as if making an excuse. "Is it a man?" My question broke the silence. She lowered her head, her lips trembling. "It's not like that, you're misunderstanding," she replied, flustered. "Not like that." I looked at her, trying to control the anger that was rising inside me. "You're going away 1 week before our wedding, and you want me to believe it's nothing?" I just need time to think about everything," she said weakly, her voice sounding like she was begging for forgiveness. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "You want to spend the whole weekend with a man, and you expect me to believe he's just a friend?" "You don't understand," she said, eyes filled with tears. Her voice dropped even lower. "I can't explain. I just need time to figure out this relationship." "What am I to you?" I yelled, unable to control the anger. "What kind of relationship is this if it's full of secrets and lies?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What did she really mean by needing time? Was it just an excuse to be with another man while we were supposed to be preparing for our wedding? My heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. She didn't say anything, just stood there silently. That silence hurt more than any words. Then suddenly I said with finality, "You're going to tell me his name. Who is he?" She looked down again, her eyes filled with hopelessness. After a few seconds, she whispered, "Scott. Scott Parker. He works with you." When I heard the name Scott Parker, it was like being struck by lightning. Scott was my boss, and now he was with my fiancé. Rage exploded inside me like waves crashing against the rocks. "My boss," I shouted. "That man? You were with him? He's older than me." Caroline didn't say anything. She just stood there, her hand on the door handle, looking guilty. "You don't deserve me, Caroline," I said, each word cutting deeper into my heart. "There will be no wedding." I turned away and walked out, not looking back. She didn't call after me. And just like that, we were over. I don't know how long I stood there, but when I turned around, Caroline was gone. The door was still open. Light from outside streamed into the dark room, as if she had left without a word. But I couldn't leave right away. I couldn't let go of all the emotions flooding my heart. What now? How could I find peace again? Now all I feel is pain. A deep numbness inside me. Part of me wanted to walk out and forget everything, to escape the emotions. But another part, a confused and wounded part, wanted to hold on to her for a moment longer. To hear a real explanation. A true apology. But then I remembered the moment she admitted the betrayal. Scott Parker, the man I respected, trusted, and saw as a mentor, had secretly been involved with her. It was a devastating blow to my pride. A shock I couldn't accept. I sat down, staring at the table. There, she had left a note with a short explanation. Next week I start a new chapter in my life, and I have to do this before it's too late. Just one short sentence, but it felt like a knife cutting through my mind. What she called a new chapter was actually betrayal. My eyes stare at the note, but I couldn't understand why she thought this would somehow make our relationship stronger. How could betrayal become a positive turning point for our future? How could a marriage survive without trust? These questions echoed in my mind, but no answers came. I stood up and took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. But when I looked at the ring on my finger, all the beautiful memories we had shared came rushing back. Could everything really end like this? Could I still love someone who had hurt me so deeply? The answer in my heart was clear: no. I walked back to the living room, where so many memories of us once lived. The wedding photos we had chosen, the plans we made for our future. Now, all of it felt like a cruel joke. Then I noticed something: her phone. It was sitting on the table. It had to be hers. She must have left it behind when she rushed out. I didn't mean to touch it, but my hands moved on their own. I picked it up and unlocked the screen. A flood of messages appeared. Conversations between her and Scott Parker. Sweet words. Secret meetings. Plans made behind my back. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Everything was now clear. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had planned it. This wasn't a mistake. It was a conscious choice. Anger filled me again. But it wasn't the pain of a broken heart anymore. It was the fury of a man whose trust had been crushed. My hands trembled, emotions completely overwhelming me. I wanted to lash out, but I knew I had to stay calm. Suddenly, the front door opened again. Footsteps echoed through the room, and I saw Caroline walk in. Her face was streaked with tears. She didn't say anything, just stood there, like someone on trial. "Ethan, you can't do this," she finally said, her voice soft, but without any true sincerity. "You can't just leave me like this. I love you, but I need time. I need to do this so we can start over." Start over? I couldn't hide the sarcasm in my voice. "There's nothing to start over, Caroline. You've destroyed everything." She stepped closer, but I backed away. I didn't want to get caught in her games anymore. "I know I was wrong," she said, but I didn't know what else to do. "I love you, but Scott said I had to prove that I could take control of this relationship. I just wanted to be equal." A part of me wanted to laugh at how absurd it sounded, but instead, I felt trapped in a twisted game. From her meetings with Scott to the ridiculous reasons she was giving, everything was wrong. And now, she stood here, asking for forgiveness? "You really think I'll understand?" I asked, barely able to speak through the pain. "You think I'll forgive you because of this? This betrayal can never be forgiven." I turned around, not wanting to hear more. But then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Scott is dead." Everything around me seemed to collapse. The moments that followed didn't matter anymore. Scott's death had changed everything. Caroline looked at me, her eyes full of shock, like someone who had just lost everything. "I can't believe it," I whispered, feeling my legs weaken beneath me. All of this for one man. And now, it's ended in tragedy. She said nothing, just stood there silently. The quiet in the room, the cold air, it all made it feel impossible to stay stuck in the past any longer. It was over. The shock from that message hit me like a hammer to the chest. I looked at Caroline again. Her eyes were no longer begging or regretful. She just stood there, frozen. My thoughts were racing. Scott Parker is dead. The price of this betrayal was far too high. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice shaking. It felt like I had fallen into a bottomless pit. Think about what just happened. Think about death. Think about the kind of ending none of us could change. Caroline stepped closer, her hands trembling, tears in her eyes. Ethan, I don't know what to say to make this right. I never wanted anyone to die because of this. But I can't live without understanding my own feelings. I can't forgive you, I replied, my voice steady. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed everything we built, every ounce of trust we had. Now what? You want forgiveness. Caroline stayed silent. Her eyes looked like they were trying to speak, but the words wouldn't come. It was too late. Nothing she said could fix this. Scott was gone. My life was shattered. I was the only one left standing in the ruins. I turned and walked away, refusing to look at her one more time. I headed straight to my office, the place I always went when I needed to think. My body felt heavy. My thoughts were a mess. All the plans, all the dreams of a happy life with her, they had disappeared like smoke. Then my phone rang again. Another unknown number. I answered with a trembling hand, my mouth dry. We need to speak with you, Ethan, said a firm voice on the other end. This is the police. We have information regarding Scott Parker's case. His wife, Loretta, is in custody. Loretta? I asked, my voice sounding unfamiliar. Even to me. She killed Scott? Yes, the officer replied. She shot Scott multiple times. We need you to come to the station to provide some information. His words hit me like a second wave of shock. I couldn't believe it. Loretta, Scott's wife, someone I never imagined being involved in this tragedy, was the one who ended his life. Why did it all have to end like this? I stood up, too overwhelmed to speak. My mind was spinning. I couldn't stay here anymore. Couldn't look at Caroline again. Couldn't live in this house filled with painful memories. I didn't even know where to go, but I knew I had to leave. The police asked me to come down to the station. But in my mind, only one question kept repeating. How did things get this bad? When I arrived, I was greeted by a middle-aged officer with tired eyes that had clearly seen too much pain over the years. I sat down across from him, completely silent. The room was filled with a heavy, tense atmosphere. We discovered that Loretta knew about her husband's affair, the officer began. She found out after receiving an anonymous letter from someone at the company. She knew Scott had been meeting with Caroline in secret. She was furious, and that led her to take extreme action. So Loretta killed Scott because of that? I asked, even though deep down I already knew the answer. The officer nodded slowly. Yes. After she found out, she decided to confront him. She brought a gun. When the moment came, she didn't hesitate. The scene in the living room was horrific. Scott didn't even get a chance to react. A cold chill went through my body. I couldn't even imagine it. A woman, so broken by pain, taking such a final, irreversible step. But I also couldn't help thinking of Caroline, of how her choices had made everything worse. It was all too complicated. Scott's death wasn't just his tragedy. It was the result of a chain of wrong choices, not just Loretta's, but Caroline's and mine too. When I came home, my head was still heavy with everything I had learned. Caroline was gone. I had lost her completely. But deep down, I also knew I had to keep moving forward. I couldn't go back. I didn't love her anymore. Though a quiet pain still lived inside me, I knew I had to let it go. Now, all I had left were the memories and the weight of what I had lost. But one thing was certain. I would never go back to the past. The cost of betrayal was too high. I had reached my limit. Now it was time to stand up and rebuild myself. I never thought that after everything ended, I'd still feel like I was stuck in a nightmare. I believed time would help me forget, but the truth was it didn't. Every morning, I woke up feeling empty. The world around me felt frozen, and I didn't even know where to begin. The memories of Caroline, of Scott, of those painful conversations in the living room, they still haunted me. But one day, something clicked. I realized I couldn't keep living in the past. Not because I had forgiven her, but because I had to save myself. The hurt had lasted long enough. The anger had faded. Now I just needed to live. I went back to work, not because I was ready, but because I needed a distraction. Something to calm my mind. The long hours, endless meetings, and overwhelming tasks helped me forget, if only for a while. But by the end of the day, when I came back to the empty house, the loneliness returned. I tried reaching out to friends and family, but no one truly understood what I was feeling. Everyone said I did the right thing by ending things with Caroline, but they didn't know what it felt like inside. I couldn't pretend that everything was fine because it wasn't. And I didn't know when or if I'd ever feel like myself again. One day, while sitting in my favorite coffee shop, something unexpected happened. A woman walked in, holding a cup of hot coffee. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for someone. Then she stopped, looked directly at me. I recognized her instantly. It was Sophia, my current wife. She stood still, almost unsure of what to do next. We had never really talked about the past, never brought up Caroline or what I had gone through. But in Sophia's eyes, I saw something, understanding. She knew I was still trying to heal, still trying to escape the shadow of betrayal and death. I don't know what I can do to help, Sophia said softly as she sat across from me. But I'll always be here. I looked into her eyes. There was a quiet light in them, offering comfort. Sophia wasn't Caroline, and I couldn't love her in the same way. But one thing I was sure of, she had never betrayed me. She hadn't caused the pain. She had walked in, and she had chosen to stay, even when I wasn't perfect. And then, as the days passed, I slowly began to understand that life isn't about what I've lost. It's about what I still have. I couldn't erase the past, but I also couldn't live in it forever. And Sophia, she became the most important part of my healing. She didn't need to replace Caroline. She was simply herself. And that was all I needed. One quiet evening, as we sat together at home, Sophia and I talked about the future. It was a conversation filled with unknowns, hopes, and a strange but peaceful silence. Then she asked me, "How do you feel about Caroline now?" I didn't answer right away. It was over. The anger I once felt was gone. What remained was only regret. Regret for what could have been, for the life we might have shared. But I knew I could never go back. "It's just regret," I said at last, my eyes resting on the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft colors. I can't change the past, but I can choose the future. Sophia didn't speak. She simply smiled and gently took my hand. That small gesture gave me more comfort than any words ever could, not from the woman I had lost, but from the woman who had stayed. In the end, I learned something important. Trust is the foundation of every relationship. Once broken, it's hard to rebuild. But I also realized something else. If you stay trapped in the past, you miss the chance to build a new future. Betrayal leaves a deep wound, but it doesn't have to destroy you. Yes, you can hurt. Yes, you can fall. But what truly matters is that you get back up. Because life keeps moving. And every day brings a new chance. A new beginning. What matters most is not the pain, but what you do after it. To live again. To love again. And most of all, to trust again.